Today, I had the privilege of interviewing Meghan Littlejohn. She is an owner of 3 Orangetheory Fitness studios in Tennessee and has been for over 11 years. We went to franchise training many years ago, and this year at our Nashville convention, she shared that she had suffered a brain injury a few years prior to that. During this whole time, I had no idea, nor did most other people, that Meghan had gone through this. She is funny, she's inspiring, she will give you hope. She is a very, very special lady, and I cannot wait for you to hear Meghan's story. Who's the person you're being? Are you satisfied? Welcome to Be the Person, a podcast for the brave and the curious, for people ready to explore their true potential. I'm your host, Annie Randall. Join me and let's get ready to go on this journey together. Welcome to Be the Person podcast. You are in for such a treat today. I have my friend and also owner of Orangetheory Fitness, Meghan Littlejohn, here with me today. Welcome, Meghan, to the podcast.
Thank you, Anne. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, I can't wait for you to share your story because at Orangetheory Convention, you shared your story and we've known each other for a long time. We went to franchise training, almost 11 years ago, 12 years ago. And when you shared it, I didn't know any of this story. So I'm really excited for you to share about this. And we'll jump into the full thing later, but can you give us a quick version of a little bit about you and what you shared at convention?
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, that was a big day at convention, the big reveal. And not many people knew that, Anne. So thank you for taking an interest. When I think back, it started with, my husband and 2 small children. We were living in South Florida. And Scott was a cardiology physician assistant, and I was an executive in a national healthcare recruiting firm for about 17 years, almost 2 decades. And we thought our path was really clear. We were really where our family needed to be. We had the house, the careers, our family, everything seemed to be right on track. And then one day I contracted a virus that actually attacked my brain, my spinal cord, and my whole nervous system. It was one of the most severe brain infections that these doctors had ever seen. They basically told my husband, call the family in. She's not going to make it. They didn't expect me to survive. It was pretty serious. When I was hospitalized, I was put in a drug-induced coma for 3 days and then hospitalized for 7. They diagnosed me with viral meningitis and acute encephalitis. But it left me with a traumatic brain injury in my frontal lobe. And so that's a whole nother story. But I was sent home, and without a strong medical plan, they basically told me to follow up with my neurologist. And wow, that was a scary day. Life drastically changed at that moment. It no longer was that perfect scenario that I described to you. If someone would have told me that 12 years later, I would be sitting in Middle Tennessee and owning 3 Orangetheory studios, I would have thought you were crazy. Never would have happened. Here we are.
I love that. Tell me a little bit about when you came home from the hospital. You're diagnosed with this. It's like a traumatic brain injury. What was a day in the life like for you then?
Oh, wow. It was very scary. The best way that I can describe it is that I was there, but I wasn't present. I really didn't have much going on right here. I was very blank. I was just very gone. No one's ever really asked me that question before. And it brings me back to really just a shell of a person, to be honest with you. Brain injuries are complicated. And I went home thinking that this is going to be, I was sick. I had a virus. It's going to pass. It needs to take time. But then I realized there were a lot of other things that I was going to have to learn to live with because I realized having two small children, I couldn't even take care of my own basic needs. I couldn't take care of them. Um, couldn't read. I realized I couldn't read. I couldn't write. I couldn't recall words. I couldn't complete thoughts.
Yeah.
I actually found myself, it was very scary. I didn't know this thing was happening, but I was told that my short-term memory was so poor that I would just repeat stories over and over and over again. Like, for example, I might say to you, Anne, did you know I had a brain injury? And 10 seconds later, I would say, Anne, did you know that I had a brain injury? And this would go on and on. So there was just this, there was a big loss in my short-term memory for sure. So coming home from that experience, it was very scary because the family had to be there. The family had to take care of my children. I was really out of it. My husband, I don't know how he did it. He was so scared and trying to do the best that he could for everyone. And yet I also had, light sensitivity and sound sensitivity, tactile sensitivity because of the whole nervous system. So there were a whole lot of other things going on. So
Wow.
yeah, it was definitely a rough time.
That is crazy just to contract a virus. All of that happens. You're sent home. You have two small kids.
Mhm.
I can't imagine. And then I remember in Nashville, I always kind of laugh because good conversations always happen in the ladies' room while you're waiting.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I told you. I said, Megan, I'm so excited because Jeff used to get referrals from doctors and we're going to start to do this. And you just looked at me and said, you wait till my story tomorrow. So I couldn't wait to hear your video then. But tell me, how does all of this then tie into you getting connected to Orange Theory?
So the story of how I got connected with Orange Theory is really interesting. And it didn't happen immediately because brain injuries are complicated. And so what I was experiencing was going to take a lot of time and a lot of therapies. And I needed to see a lot of specialists because a lot of the things that I was experiencing were, for lack of a better term, medical complications, um, vertigo, low blood pressure, passing out, um, was my eyesight changed? Was my optic nerve affected? There were so many things. I had to see so many specialists along the way. And for the first year, they really didn't want to treat me with anything other than managing the anxiety because I had severe anxiety attacks. I was extremely depressed. We were learning that we had to grieve the loss of the person that I was before because I had completely changed. I was, going from an extreme extrovert to very lost and introverted and unable to socialize. Um, Unable to socialize. My personality had changed completely. So I needed to take about a year to really kind of just be patient, which was really hard. That was really hard. So I started then seeing another doctor who was phenomenal. And I kept expressing my frustration with the fact that I really wasn't getting back to where I was before. I felt really stuck. So I ended up doing occupational therapy for a long time. I did speech therapy for a long time because I needed, my balance was off, my coordination was off, my recall for words, reading, writing, all of that, occupational speech therapy. But then I also had to go through psychotherapy to learn how to grieve the loss of the person I was. So I tried everything then. I tried acupuncture, I tried massage therapy, I tried chiropractic. This went on for a very long time, and I still was not feeling like I could go back to work. I did go back to work when I shouldn't have. I didn't even know how to pick up a phone. So it was just, there was so much. So I go back to my doctor and I said to her, there's got to be more. There has got to be more. This can't be it. I've tried everything. This is so time consuming, and I have to get better for my children, for my family, everything. And she looked at me and she said, I understand how you might feel. This must be very frustrating. She takes a prescription pad and she writes on the pad, Orangetheory Fitness. She tears it off and she hands it to me and she says, don't come back until you do 2 hours a week. And I read it, but I read it as orange therapy. And I said, orange therapy? You mean you're sending me for more therapy? And she said, no, it's not therapy. It's fitness. And she said, Meghan, I believe this is going to work for you. I need you to go to Orangetheory Fitness 2 hours a week. We've got to get your neurons firing. We've got to get your blood flowing. We've got to get your body moving. And I really believe that if you do this, this will change the direction that we're going. And you tell a type A person, don't come back until you do this.
Yeah.
It worked. I went home and I said to my husband, I held the prescription up and I said to my husband in tears, with tears running down my face, I said, she wants me to exercise. And he said, hallelujah, I will do it with you. Don't worry. And I said, I'm scared. I can't follow directions. I can't walk on a treadmill. I have light sensitivity, in which I learned later the orange lights and Orange Theory and the music, and my balance and coordination were terrible. I said, I don't know if I can do it. And my husband said, you can do it. I'm going to do it with you. And we did. We went and we joined Orange Theory, which turned out to be probably just as good as any therapy. And we went 2 hours a week. And it was about 8 sessions and 8 classes in when I started to really, really notice the change. It was pretty amazing. Would you like it? Yeah. Would you like me to get into that?
I would love to hear the changes. Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty cool because I'm feeling very defeated and feeling that I thought this might be as good as it gets, may never get better. I actually had hope for the first time. After 8 classes, I started sleeping better. I had less anxiety. I had more mental clarity. I actually felt like the sun was coming out for the first time in a very long time. And I started to build this incredible confidence that if I can do this, someone like myself, who's never really had a consistent fitness routine, and then a brain injury,
Yeah.
and all these obstacles, if this can help do this for me, then this could help anybody. And so as this I started to improve, I started thinking, what if I did 3 hours a week? Can I
Mhm.
handle 3 hours a week? And I thought, this is pretty incredible. And then I actually started going 4 hours a week. I had the confidence that I knew that there was more for me and my family, and that I didn't need that 17-year career anymore, and that I didn't know what I was going to do. But I can tell you right now that I knew that I survived a life-threatening illness, and I was overcoming all of the things that I was left with. And I give so much credit to that doctor and to Orangetheory Fitness, because the day I walked in that door was the day it changed my life and our families.
I just got chills when you said that, just because, sometimes people think it's just a gym, but
Mhm,
it's not just a gym. Like, it really does change people's lives. And
mhm,
I love that. Like, I love your story so much. I love people's stories and just how special that is, that you like walk in the door, you've tried all of these things,
mhm,
then this prescription comes. And I want to like give Scott a hug too for like just saying, we got this. I'll go with you
mhm.
this together. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. It's it when I talk about it, it seems like it was yesterday. It's crazy.
Megan, you really didn't share this story. I don't think with many people. I know in franchise training, I had no idea. And for the next 11 years, I had no idea.
Yeah.
What made you decide to share now?
Yeah. And it was a really hard time in our lives. And I still struggle with some of the effects of the brain injury.
Mhm.
And I believe the reason that I kept it private for so long is I just really tried to focus on moving forward and not letting the brain injury define who I was. Um, Again, I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. I didn't want them to think I had a disability. I didn't want people to think that I wasn't capable of doing great things. And I think what was very important to me in waiting, and I'm not sure even why this was the right time, except for the fact that I have owned Orange Theory Fitness Studios for over 10 years. And I chose to keep it very private so that I could earn the respect of those around me for what I could accomplish, and rather than what I might not be able to do, or rather than something that might hold me back. Does that make sense?
It
I
does.
I felt like if people knew my story, they might be looking at every reason why I can't.
Yeah.
And I didn't want anybody to do that, because I felt like, oh my gosh, I've overcome so much. Let me just earn the respect from my employees. Let me earn the respect from my members. Let me earn the respect from my colleagues and experts at Orange Theory Fitness, so they can see what I am capable of accomplishing rather than focusing what I might not be capable of.
And Megan, you've accomplished so much. You have three unbelievably successful studios. You have members that love you, staff that adore you. Like, and nobody, maybe a few had some idea, but again, I think most people did not. So without this, you have done just incredible things without letting anybody know. I think even if you didn't have a brain injury, that would be incredible. Then to learn your story and your struggle, I think it's even more incredible. And it just shows, like, it just really hit home to me of you just never know somebody's inside, what they're going through. Um, and we all have something inside, but yours was special. I'm glad you decided to share now.
Thank you.
Yeah. You
Right.
know,
I'm feeling all the feels right now. And it's I really appreciate hearing that from you. And it's also very liberating, I think, to talk about. So
yeah.
yeah, it's a cool thing. Yeah.
Brene Brown was really the one that I started following for vulnerability
Mhm.
several years ago. And she references a vulnerability hangover. Like when you share something personal,
Mhm.
then the next day you kind of question yourself, should I have shared that? Did you experience that at all?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That definitely. I experienced it weeks leading up to telling the story. And then I absolutely experienced that vulnerable hangover. I think that Brene Brown shares because everyone's got something, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes those things are just better left unsaid, or you think it is, right? And you carry it with you, and you think, I've done pretty well this far, so no regrets. Maybe I don't need to share this story ever, right? And so when you do, it is. I experienced, like I said, it was very liberating. Um, I felt giddy. I felt nervous. I felt embarrassed. I felt silly for keeping this to myself. I felt some shame and regret, like everything. Then I was completely wiped out, completely exhausted,
Yeah.
and decided that ultimately, the more I share it, the better off I will be and those around me will be. Because then I can free up some space for a lot of joy and a lot of really positive, good things going forward.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm so glad you did share too. And I can imagine all of those feelings and they're not right or wrong. And who knows when the exact perfect time was. I mean, this seems like it to me, but in your journey, I'm glad that you shared now because what I really believe is it gives a lot of people hope and it brings them hope because although their struggle might be different, again, everybody has a struggle. And
Mhm.
just that you're able to talk about it and just express that struggle, I think is super, gives people hope. So thank you for doing that. You also talk though that your brain, you mentioned it once already, that your brain doesn't work perfectly and there's still days where it's challenging. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Yeah, it's it's funny because one of the things we say at Orange Theory, right, is it's uh during the workout is maybe challenging but doable,
Mhm.
right? The workout may be challenging, but it's doable. I have those days that are challenging and they're doable. They definitely push me, but I call those days neuro days. It has a name. Probably should have like a person's name, but I call them neuro days. And those are the days that I feel off. Those are the days that like I struggle with mental clarity, making decisions, completing tasks, organizational skills. Um, I tend to make some mistakes. I make mistakes when I'm having neuro days because I just don't have the clarity that I do on the other days. But what I do is when I have these days, and I think I'm having one right now.
Well, good.
But when I have these days, it does remind me of what I need to do. And what I need to do is I need to rest my brain because we all have so much noise every day in our world. And I have to rest my brain. I need to get good sleep and I need to exercise. And I need to remember what changed my situation before. And those are the things I need to rest, I need to get sleep, and I need to exercise. So I have to remind myself of that from time to time.
Have you been confused about what to eat, when to eat, and overall the best things to do for your health? I've created a free guide for optimal health just for you. It'll help you live healthier, make more confident choices, and know exactly which choices you should make on food, timing of your food, and so much more. You're not going to want to miss this guide. The link to get the free guide is in the show notes. I love that because I think it's a good prescription for all of us. You're right. There's a lot of noise in everyone's life, but for you to take that and they know exactly what you need is so powerful. And then to actually do it. I love that about you because you're a doer.
I try. Doesn't always happen, but I try.
Yeah. When did you think on this journey, gosh, maybe I could own Orange Theory, or how did that even come up for you?
That's a great question. That's a great question because we started as members really early on. I mean, Orange Theory started in 2010. And so we were members in 2011 ish. And it was very early in the brand. And of course, I had no thought of what I was going to do next, I was taking it day by day. But I can tell you when it really started to click for me that this is what I wanted to do is as I'm improving and I'm starting to really feel and see and live the results of Orange Theory Fitness, I'm watching other people too. And it was really unbelievable how, since we started early on, there were at times 4 people in a class. And so we'd go in and it was me, my husband, and 2 other people. And then next thing you know, there's 8 people in a class. And then there's 12 people in a class. And one day we walked in and they said, I'm sorry, there's no room in the class. There's 24 people in the class. And we were like, what? What do you mean there's no room in the class? And they said, we've been telling you, you really need to pre-book your classes. There's such a demand for Orange Theory Fitness and people are trying to get into these classes. You want to pre-book them in advance or you might not get in. And sure enough, we were caught so off guard. We turned around, we walked out of Orange Theory and we went, oh my gosh, this place is something really special because it hit us like a brick. They've been telling us pre-book. We're watching the classes grow, but never did we think it was going to be so special like this, that everyone else is going, who probably has a story, is experiencing exactly what we're experiencing. And it was all fitness levels. It was all ages. It was athletes. It was grandmothers. It was men. It was women. It was teenagers. And the best thing that ever happened is that they turned us away. And from that day on, we pre-booked our classes. We never wanted to miss. And it switched something for me. My husband was still working in the hospital. He's a cardiology PA. So his focus was right there in medicine, where I had the courage to quit my other career. And I'm in Orange Theory. I'll never forget this day on a rowing machine. And I'm rowing and I'm thinking, how many square feet do you think this place is? And I'm thinking, how many members do you think they have? And all of a sudden, I'm starting to formulate a business plan in my head. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm coming back. I'm coming back. And I went home to my husband and I said, Scott, I know what I'm going to do. And he said, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to own Orange Theory Fitness Studios. And he said, oh, Megan, Could you please not work? Could wait, he says, "Oh, Megan, could you please just work for them? Do you really have to own them?" He said, "Haven't we been through enough? Just work for Orange Theory Fitness." And I said, "No, if I said, this is so special that if this could work for someone like me, this can work for so many others. And I'm seeing it happen right before my eyes." And the next day, when he came home from work, I said, "We have an appointment with Orange Theory Fitness." And the rest was history.
Oh my goodness. I love that you're on the rower formulating that business plan.
I'm calculating, I was doing the whole thing. And I'm like, that's it. I know exactly what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Ours was similar. I mean, not similar in that respect, but Jeff and I both were members before, right? At the very beginning, it opened by our house. And I had to kind of drag him because we got this
Me too.
postcard in the mail. And he says, "Annie, that's for girls. I don't want to go." And I said, "Come on, come on." Finally, he says, "Yes." I walk out of there. I'm like, "Awesome. Sign us up for a membership. I love this." And he walks out of there and was like, "We should own this thing." And I was like, "We don't know how to own this thing. I don't know what you're talking about."
Oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming. I thought it was going to take a little more convincing for him.
No. And he's the one we watched for about a year. And you know what? The thing that stood out to me in that you're like, yes, we could change people's lives. For me, I was like, we can change people's lives. Fitness is the platform. But the other part that made it so special for me was the community. The
Mhm.
community within Orange Theory was like nothing I had experienced before. And it was like, this is it. This is the magic that changes people's lives. I don't care about owning a gym, but I want to build a community that does that.
Oh, I love that, Anne.
Yeah.
I love that. And see, for me, I think that came later. It was happening around me, but I was so caught up in my own yuck that I don't think I could see past that yet. And so I love that your experience from a different perspective was the community, because that's what I think we're really, really good at.
I agree. Yeah, that's what makes us special at Orange Theory. Like the product works, everything works. Like we can help you get to where you want to go. You're living proof of that. And then the community to me was like the extra special sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you shared that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know there are days where, and most days, I love to be a Orange Theory owner. Tell me, I would love to know, what do you like best? And what, if you could give something away, might you give away as an Orange Theory owner?
Oh, what would I? Okay. So, first, it's hard being an owner.
Yeah.
It is absolutely, it's hard, or everyone would be doing it, I think, Anne.
Mhm.
So I give you a lot of credit as well, because I know what every day is like. And I think we both own 3 studios, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so our days may be very similar. Um, there are days when I want to quit. It's the truth. But it's those days that remind me of my why and what got me into this to begin with. So I believe what I love most, or what I like most about owning an Orange Theory, is that for 10 years, it has been about all about our members, not about my story.
Yeah.
It's been about giving back. And for 10 years, I've been listening to other stories. I've been hearing and seeing their successes. It's so rewarding to know that what we're doing is really changing people's lives and helping people, whether it be a medical condition or it is a mental health issue or a divorce or grief or you name it, life, right? Knowing that this could be the best hour of anyone's day, um, and that we're making a difference really is the biggest reward. What I would like to give away, I think finding people who are as passionate as us to be part of our team and create the culture that we know is so important. And I think that that is in itself a full-time job in finding people as passionate and caring and giving of themselves for others.
Yeah.
And
When you
so
find them, it's so special and so great,
it
but
is
actually finding them can be challenging.
absolutely, absolutely. But finding them is amazing.
Yeah.
How about you? What would you say in that situation? Do you mind if I ask you?
No, I like it. I love the community aspect and just hearing people's stories. That's why I
Mhm.
was so excited to do this interview today of just sharing your story. I love hearing other people's stories. I was in the studio yesterday and a lady was telling me how she had never really exercised before. Her daughter brought her to Orange Theory and she's like, Annie, I've lost 60 pounds. My blood work has entirely changed. I am like a new person and I'm so thankful, and hearing that, it just, like, made my heart so happy for her of like, "Oh my gosh, it's like a whole new life."
Absolutely, absolutely. And then those people who have been seeing cardiologists that no longer need to take their heart medicine, or diabetics that no longer have to take insulin. I mean, it's pretty incredible.
It is incredible.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, so incredible. I think people would look at you maybe from the outside, and they would have no idea, again, about your brain injury. I had no idea 11 years later. You make it look easy, you make it look perfect. Do you think during this whole thing, like you've learned to give people a different sort of grace? Has it changed your perspective with people?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Um, I like to call it empathy. Um, I actually do some trainings with my staff on that as well, because I think it's really important that, um, I think about, I'm going to go back for a moment about the brain injury, but prior to that, I did feel like I had it going on. The two careers, the two children, the pets, the house, the lovely lifestyle in South Florida. You know, I was kind of a perfectionist, overachiever. Um, Everything had to be perfect, right? And then when something as tragic as that or trauma happens in someone's life, you start to put things in perspective and you think, really, is it that serious? Right.
Yes.
And so, um, I think since then, I have really learned to be more empathetic and understanding, because you really don't know what someone else is going through. And if you can try to walk in their shoes, I think that, I don't know, I'm losing my train of thought, but I feel like if you try to put yourself in their shoes for a moment, um, you're going to be a lot more caring and, excuse me, and helpful through their process.
Absolutely. I think you love people better when you do that. Like you're able to just walk with them and love them where they are instead of where you think maybe they should be.
No question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love to wrap up with people's favorite books, their one or two favorite books. And I'm
Mhm.
excited to hear this from you.
Yeah. That's a great question. I don't know if I have a favorite, because there's so many good ones, but I can tell you what I'm listening to right now. How about that?
Yeah, I love that.
Because I tend to listen to books more than I actually read them. And I right now am listening to Creating Fans by Brittany Hodak, who was a speaker at our convention, and also Unreasonable Hospitality. And at convention, and Unreasonable Hospitality is by Will Budera. And when I heard them speak at convention, it really resonated with me and how special Orange Theory is. And if we just do a little bit extra and really give people more than what they expect, we will end up with super fans. And I'm really into that right now because having been doing this for a long time, I need to continue to still learn and grow in order to do that for my staff. And so right now, those are the books that are hitting the top for me.
I love it. I'm reading Will's book right now too.
You are? That's
Yes.
awesome.
Our whole team is doing that. So we're doing it together. I love that you're a leader that still loves to learn, that still is like, I need to get better in order for my team to get better.
Absolutely. I love hearing you say that. So I always say the day I stop learning is the day I need to give this up because there's no point. There is something that I can learn every day and I can't sit idle. And so, it's interesting, and maybe you have this as well with your team. Gosh, I know you have some people on your team that have been with you for a really long time. And that does say a lot about you and how you run your business and how they feel valued, right? But I know that in this business, there are some people that are going to be with us for a really long time. And then I know there's others that it's just a stepping stone and that this may just be a stepping stone for their career path. And that's okay. But if they're going to be here at Orange Theory, they need to be the best that they can be when they're here. So I don't really have any excuses. If I'm asking them to be the best that they can be every day when they're working in studio, then I need to too. So that was a long way of going about getting back to why learning is so important as a leader, because if you're going to expect it from others, you need to do it yourself, honestly.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that you do that every day. So hats off to you.
Thank you. You too.
Meghan, I know people are going to want to learn a little bit more about you. And what is the best way? I know that you have a Facebook account. Is that the best way to follow you?
That's fine. I have Facebook. It's Meghan Littlejohn. I have Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, it's Meghan Littlejohn. Instagram, it's Meg Little J. But I would love that. I would love to connect.
Awesome. And I'll put all of those links in our show notes. Meghan, thank you for sharing your story today. Thank you for just being vulnerable, for just, I think you give everyone hope, and you yet don't use any of this as an excuse. You hold yourself to an amazingly high standard, and it makes other people do the same. And I just love that about you.
Thank you, Anne. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, for joining in to Be the Person podcast. And if this resonated with you, please share it with somebody you know. As always, it would mean the world if you would give us a 5-star review so we can reach more people. Thanks so much for joining today.